Could I turn any man or woman or child away whom God had sent by his own interior light and revelation? I have no idea who God is sending to me, but I know if that one comes and comes in the name of the Lord, he will come for the grace of the resurrection and the ascension, or he will come for the judgment. But either way, to come before the mighty I Am presence, the individual will be resurrected to the light or to eternal contempt. And that is the prophecy of the book of Daniel in the last days. All that sleep shall be awakened, some to everlasting light, some to everlasting contempt. And therefore all are welcome, and they understand in their souls when they place their feet upon this path that it is for keeps, one way or the other. Now Jesus said to us, "You have not chosen me, but I have chosen you." I have chosen you. And so in regard to the coming to the heart of this retreat, we have been very careful to see to it that each and every one of you has had a personal invitation because of your own record, your own friendship, and your own givingness to this inner retreat. Not everyone upon the mailing list of our organization received a notification of this class or an invitation. And therefore you realize that even those who came without invitation, even when they offered the amount of money that was required at the gate, I reviewed them individually and I had to turn them away because I had already turned them away at previous situations of conferences, either for their psychic vibration or their criticism of me or the teachings or the masters. And some people wanted to attend this conference to tell me how to do it, and to tell me that decrees were a rote and a bore and this and that and the next thing. Well, we receive newcomers at Camelot, but this is a haven for the light bearers who have striven, who have won, and who should be free to be on our land without having to encounter individuals who will be some sort of a burden. We are going to keep the inner retreat in this way, and we are going to keep it that way permanently. As you realize, it is more and more difficult to sift through the ranks of our membership and our mailing list as regards to those that might be sent in by cult watchers, by those who consider us to be, or me to be, the #1 enemy of the planet. And so, although we may have checklists and we may have ways of determining where people are coming from, ultimately it is by the grace of God that our community is protected, and we can only go so far. Nevertheless, using care and our computer, we can have a certain level of discrimination and security. I'm going to ask your assistance in this matter. I do not wish to ever introduce suspicion into our ranks. Rather than to have a vibration of suspicion, frankly, I'd rather have a spy in our midst, because I think the people of God need to be free and joyous and happy together. Nevertheless, none of us can let down our guard, and each one must say, "I am the guard of the community." Therefore, we've given you identification tags and the process of the sifting in this hour. I'd like to tell you that as this year goes by, I think it will be more difficult, because I think certain of the enemies are more and more dedicated and more determined to penetrate. And so, we will have our October conference. We will have new people coming in. We always have new people's programs. And anyone, of course, who desires to infiltrate the community is going to pose as a devotee, as a very ardent student on the path. So I ask you all to call to K17 and to Lanello, who work closely together. You can read their wonderful pearls given in the 73 volume. I ask you to call upon the all-seeing eye of God so that we may, each one of us, take accountability in the law of the One for the protection of this wonderful property and of our teachings and of ourselves. I have thought over in my heart and asked Linello how we should go about preparing for next year, our next conference, and our next year's fall payment. What I would like to say to you is that that fall payment has been made, has been transferred. The due date of it is September 9th. Therefore, we are now engaged in the raising of the same amount of money for September 9th, 1983, approximately $1,535,000. We will have a payment in that amount in 1984 and in 1985, 4 equal payments. In 1985, when we make that final payment, we will own this land free and clear. Now, the only reason that we did not welcome you as guests to the inner retreat before this conference is because we did not have the land prepared. Roads were not safe, we did not have camping sites, we did not have proper facilities. We also feel that people using this land should have survival training, should be knowledgeable in CPR and in the Red Cross courses that we teach. I would like to feel that those who buy the land have a sense of ownership, have a sense of belonging, and that they can come here, not simply at a few appointed dates, but have a sense that this land is for all of us and to be here with our families when we are able. Now, until 1985, September 9th, 1985 to be precise, we have to bear the responsibility of ownership. It's like mortgage on a house, it's like rent. We're all going to be paying rent until that time. So in consideration of next year's payment and next year's requirement, I would like to make the following observation. This year, as I combed over the lists, so many of you I know personally and others of you I know by name from a distance, I desire to include the greatest numbers in the invitation. And therefore I said in my heart, where can I possibly draw the line? Because some people are on pensions, some people are students. We asked for each one to strive toward the mark of $1,000 each. Many of you met that mark. Many of you exceeded it and gave again and again. So I set the line for the sending of invitations to those people who are known by us or known by other members who had contributed at least $100 in the past 2 years to all of our campaigns for the inner retreat. So I felt that that was a very wide latitude, and yet I felt at this stage of the game probably the enemy was not alerted that if he'd only given a $100 bill he could have gotten an invitation. However, at this point he is alerted, and money is no obstacle to the enemy. Secondly, I must say that $100 apiece is not adequate to meet that fall payment. And if many had not exceeded $1,000 by giving 5 and 10 and 20, some people gave $35,000 to this fall payment this year. So I'm going to draw the line this year and give you 9 months to do something about it, that each and every adult should contribute a minimum of $500 in order to be able to have the use of the land and to be invited to next year's summer conference. Now, this does not set aside the law of the one or our request to you to meet that $1,000 goal again. It is saying that for those who cannot meet it, I am setting a standard of $500 for you to have that invitation to come. And the reason why I would like to tell you about it today is because all of us are going to go to our homes. The Christmas season will begin, and we're going to think about giving gifts to one another. And I would like you to think about giving a gift in your family of a $500 membership fee, which will entitle you to use this land for the period from the date of your donation of that gift until next September 9th. I would like to have membership in the Summit Lighthouse, which owns this property, and when you send in that $500 donation in your name or in the name of your family member, that person will receive a membership card similar to the one you're now wearing, which will say on it that you may have the use of this inner retreat from that date of our receipt of it until September 9th, 1983. Now those funds will be carefully set aside and not touched until we have assembled the complete figure of $1,535,000. Now, unless some people give more than that, I can tell you right now we will not reach that figure, because it is the principle of the pyramid in the raising of funds. Therefore, when it comes to next summer, there will be a cutoff point at which I will have to say again, we cannot hold a summer conference here. We cannot have summer camping and activities until all of that money is in. The sooner it is in, the longer we can spend at the inner retreat next summer. I would like to see the inner retreat open with sessions, survival seminars, a full camping program for our children, a school work program for children and young people apprenticing themselves under the marvelous workers who are here. I'm sure you could see all kinds of talents and skills, from ranching to farming to road building to the building of buildings, that any one of us would like to be a part of and have our children be a part of for the learning experience of building the new age. We can begin from the thaw of the snow in June or earlier. We can have our July conference here, or we can have it at Camelot again because we have not met our fall payment. Now, we began to raise the fall payment this year in late March. You probably didn't receive my letter until early April. So in a period of 3 months, this group of people and a few who didn't make it who also gave, raised $1.5 million for this fall payment. It was a stupendous accomplishment. So I believe we can do it again, and we can do it quickly if we watch our funds. Now, over a 9-month or a 10-month period beginning now, $50 a month can be paid by next July, and you can have your ticket to the inner retreat for the full summer. So I think it's much easier to raise these amounts on a monthly basis than it is on such a short-term basis. So the way we will do this then is that $500 per person, which makes it $1,000 for a husband and wife, and each child in that family will be accountable for a $100 donation until that child reaches the age of 18, at which that child is an adult and therefore also has the requirement of $500. Now, you are not paying for something you are getting. Some people say, well, my child is 3 months old. Do I have to pay for my child to get in? Whether or not your child is coming, we still had to build the roads. We still had to put in the showers. We still had to have the water tank. It's a way of establishing individual accountability rather than charging for a person. This sets a foundation of our commitment, and above and beyond that, we can still and we must still contribute for that payment. Now, next year's spiritual conference, the 5-day conference we will hold here, whatever it will be, will have its registration fee apart from this amount. Just as you were required to have given $100 to the retreat, you also gave $100 in your registration fee. And I think you can realize from our report given to you last night that the monies that came in as registration fees for this conference, plus the $100 per person, did not pay for all of that equipment or all of the expenses we had to make this class possible. So although it may seem like a lot, you can see that a lot was needed. I would rather have left the requirement at $100 for registration so as not to bar anyone from coming for whom that was a difficult sum, and trust the goodness of others' hearts who have more to give more. I also like to see you have the opportunity to have your money, to use your free will, to take home with you the precious gifts of our tapes and books, as well as other things we have for sale. And I think that's very important that you are able to do that. And this is why we do not raise the registration fees of conferences. We have certain goals that we desire to meet this year, in addition to the paying of next year's fall payment. And something that is very close to my heart is the transferring of the flame of the Mother House in Santa Barbara to the inner retreat. We have need of a building with an auditorium that can be used through the year for a chapel, for a meeting room, for a gathering room. At the ranch office, we have not kitchen facilities or dining facilities adequate. We may be able to make use of those at the ranch kitchen, but ultimately we need that force field at the ranch headquarters. It's a considerable distance for people to travel, and it's expensive, gas-wise and time-wise, to go to the ranch kitchen from all parts of the ranch. We must say then that we need office space and dormitory space, and the winter is cold and hard and long. What I would like to do then is to see us be able to design and begin the foundation of a building which would provide these facilities and needs, and to get in the foundation before the first frost, and then to be able to do the interior work through the winter. This is a very, very tall order. I'm not going to let go of this hope and this goal, even though it seems that we will have to do a great deal in the next month to accomplish it. I will tell you that the Mother House is for sale at the present time, and I felt that it was the hour to put it on the market. It's very hard for me to do this for any of our centers because I can always visualize their utilitarian nature as well as their spiritual functioning in bringing in new souls of light. But in the meditation of my heart, I brought myself to put it on the market and to do with the proceeds from that building what those keepers of the flame who originally contributed to it intended for it to do, which was to be the Mother House and to be the focus for the continuing publishing of the teachings. And so I wish to use those proceeds exclusively and entirely for the purpose of building this Mother House at the inner retreat with those necessary facilities. And with our own labor and manpower, I believe we can build a much more spacious building to suit our requirements than we have in Santa Barbara right here. So I think when we do build a new Mother House that allows for those rooms, multiple purpose rooms that can begin as the 1 and the 2 and the 3 room schoolhouse of Montessori International, meet the needs of our staff and all of the things that we need to do here, I think we'll see that it will be like a transformation of build thee more stately mansions, O my soul. And we see the alchemy in the multiplication of our supply that has happened over the years of our investments, and that today we can use those funds for this purpose. Now, once this building is built, we can conduct Summit University seminars. It's up here, and if the auditorium is large enough and we have enough dormitories, we can also hold Summit University here. Now, this is a tremendous goal to look forward to, and the one hitch in the goal this year is that the Mother House is not sold. We do not have a definite contract on it, although we have very definite interest. We have set it at a price which is the top price one could get for a building in Santa Barbara in that area. And I have determined that the house must sell for cash, because I need cash to build my building here, and it's not worth it to me to sell the property and not have the cash. I'd rather have the building if I can't have the cash. So it is being sold for cash. It has a very small remaining mortgage on it, which would be assumed by the buyer. So I'm counting on that cash to build this building. And if the building doesn't sell, we don't have that money sitting somewhere in a little pile to go forward with this plan. So I'd like to get an architect to design what we have very definitely in mind for the facility, but we will only be able to build that for which we do have the money. So, obviously, I would not be at liberty to use any monies designated for next year's fall payment. And so, we have to keep our books straight, our investments straight, and our savings straight, balanced against our current monthly needs. I'm placing this before you because I believe that each and every year should see us increase our capacity to use this land, increase our capacity to be here. So if any of you find in your hearts that you would like to contribute in advance to the building of this mother house in anticipation of the sale of the Santa Barbara mother house, you are welcome to do so. You have very big hearts, you have a soul that perceives and has the vision, and if we have the money, we'll be asking for volunteers who have talents in all manner of construction, giving you the opportunity to serve, and following that service, giving you the opportunity of free attendance at the next level of Summit University. Last July, El Moria gave to me 4 years to complete the preparation of the inner retreat to be a facility that could duplicate what our facilities are at Camelot. And that means being able to have Summit University, our publishing plant, and all that we do there duplicated here. Now we can erect, to a certain extent, metal, prefabricated barns, warehousing, and begin at that level. But it is very cold, takes a lot of insulation, takes a lot of planning. We're not going to take any steps that aren't the right steps, and we're not going to rush in and do a half-baked job. But we are certainly very much amenable to doing that which is frugal, that which is simple, and that which is first and foremost at the level of necessity, what we need. Each year we will be subject to the same laws of weather. Our greatest outdoor building comes with the end of the snow after there is no more freezing temperatures. And that runs during the summer, sometimes from June on, sometimes earlier. We had snow in the heart here until June this year. It was a very late winter. Last year it was warm well into the fall. And so we have a certain period of building. All of our manpower and ingenuity went in the last 6 to 8 weeks to getting ready for this conference. It's work we will not have to repeat. I'd like to see our summers spent building buildings, our winters spent doing what interior work we can do, and that each year, as we make a fall payment, that's not our sole accomplishment. We don't want to just be paying for the land. We want to be building on that land. And one of the reasons that I set up our payments in this way is because I didn't want us to build on the land and then find we couldn't make the mortgage payments, and after having been here a number of years, something drastic happens in the economy and we are found in a situation where we default on our mortgage and our land is taken from us. When we build our buildings and move here, we want to know that the land under our feet is ours and that no sudden calamity or trick of the force in our money system could take from us all that we have built toward. So it's making us all strive very hard to get this payment done now. But what we build for the future, and it gives us all a sense of security at the soul level. The solar plexus and the soul chakras have to be at peace for people to be happy. And personally, I'm not at peace when I owe too many bills. And I don't think anybody else is. So that's my brief Keepers of the Flame meeting with you. I trust that you have an understanding of what I am saying, and that you will recognize that this fall is our opportunity to get next year's fall payment together, to get that minimum contribution in, and to make our pledge for a greater contribution. After you have made that minimum contribution, if you want to take a vacation here in November or February or March, you just have to let us know. Your membership card is in order, your family may come. We'll let you know where it's safe to be and where it isn't safe on the land. We want to keep track of you, and you can come and camp. You can spend some time here. And from here on in, you see the land is ours and it's for all of our use.
It seems to me that one of the main purposes of the inner retreat is a haven of safety in time of world travail. This safety valve, so to speak, therefore seems to me to be the highest priority item for all of us. In other words, the safety that will be possible by having the inner retreat is really truly worth the sacrifice. And so we would therefore like to begin the campaign, which will ultimately culminate in the making of the second annual payment.
You know, it's interesting to think about the fact of how quickly, like Mother said, we raised that money last year. When her first letter went out, I think it was March 28th. And by the end of the summer, we had come up with all this money. And, you know, we have a longer period of time now. And if we start now, I like the idea, and I think one reason that we wanted to start right away and to bring all of this back to your attention, to Play Mother's meeting for you tonight, and her great desiring would be so that we could really plan ahead. So that this year, if we start right now, instead of having 3 months, we do have 10 months, and we can get our minimum amount in early, so that when it comes to the summer and you want to plan to get up to the conference, whether you need a spare tire or a new tent or whatever it is, you're not caught in a situation where you can't make your minimum, much less give the extra amount that you might need to find yourself there in the right circumstances. So if we think about it and plan ahead, we can do a great deal more than we even did this year. And there's no reason why we shouldn't get ahead. Like Mother said, $50 a month isn't really that much. Even for those of us on staff, working out 1 or even 2 days a month can bring you that little extra amount that will get us over the hump. And when you think we've got 1 down out of 4, that's good. We only have 3 more left, and we might as well start right now because Christmas is coming up. And you know, Mother had the great idea of giving yourself the Christmas present of a membership in the inner retreat, giving that to your family as a Christmas gift, and giving that gift to the church. So this year the minimum will be $500, and Mother would like everyone to have their minimum in by Christmas. You know, there's like 3 quarters left, 3 of the 4 quarters left in a sense. And in each period coming up, if every adult got a $500 donation together for each period of time, they could have $1,500 in by the time the July conference rolls around and by the time the summer comes. You know, the weather doesn't really permit us to have a conference in July at the inner retreat. You know, at the end of June it was still snowing there. There's still snow at the heart. So we do feel, and Mother feels, it's best to plan for August again. Although she feels that it would be nice if we had a date when we could be there for Mother Mary's Ascension Day. So the conference will probably be about a week earlier next week, but it'll be next year, but it'll be in August nonetheless. And so we have time to plan and we have time to get ahead, and there's no reason why we shouldn't, because even after we meet our payment, we have to build. So we might as well meet our payment by Christmas as far as we're concerned.
One point I would like to make is that we do have what might be termed a lawful amount of concern over the instability of the banks and the stock market and the world economy. I know I've heard recently that there are a large number of loans that are owed to banks by the country of Mexico, which they're having problems with. And for this reason, I think that it is well for everyone to make their donations while you still have it. Now, these funds will be set aside and used exclusively for the purpose of the annual payment. They will be earning interest. One of the points you should consider is that If you make the donations early, the force will not thereby be able to play tricks on us where we think that money will be coming in later. It will produce a great deal of security and peace of mind, not only for us, but for each and every one of you as well.
It's true. Mother was telling us that it's easy. You can have the money, and you can say, well, I'll do this with it or I'll do that with it, instead of actually giving it now. And Mother would like for us to get it and give it if we have it now, or earn it now and give it now, because there is, like Jim said, a certain sense of security in having it in the bank. There is a tremendous instability in the economy, which is a real concern. And there's always the potential to have to make the payment even prior to what our current deadline is. So
this would be a valuable point, actually, if there were any turn of events which would jeopardize making the payment. It would be very much to our advantage to be able to make the payment early, thereby averting the necessity of any such situation that could develop.
And as far as the Glastonbury property goes too, in order to get a piece of property, and I know a lot of people are planning to do that. A lot of us saw Glastonbury when we were up at the inner retreat. For those of you who haven't seen it yet, you're in for a great treat. And a lot of people are thinking about buying property. And of course, our first obligation is to pay for our land and to secure our land, because that is our future, and the inner retreat is the future for many, many individuals whom we know are not at this point yet. So we want to, being the first ones, being the first wave, we want to secure the land for everyone that will come after us as the first priority, and then we're free, literally, to do what we want to do and to earn the extra money to gather the supply necessary to buy our private property and that kind of thing. But Mother wants you to know that she wants you to fulfill for your own personal success and overcoming the law of the one before you buy property at Glastonbury, that you would give your $1,000 and that would be a requirement to purchasing any property. So it's important to think about it and plan for it. We have 3 years left thinking about this money. And we might as well be thinking about it all the time, because Mother does.
I would just like to mention that when we purchased Camelot, Moria told Mother that they were not going to pass the torch, that we would have to seize it. And I think this principle applies equally well in the acquisition of the inner retreat. In fact, I think this principle applies to each individual as well, individually as well as collectively. In other words, I think that it is necessary for each person to seize the torch of opportunity to produce the funds which will be your portion of the donation, so that collectively we may seize the torch by acquiring completely the inner retreat.
Mother's got great plans for next year. You want to hear how many people she thinks are going to come? 3,500. She said there's 3,500 people coming, and we have to get ready. I don't doubt it. That means the construction crew is going to be back at it.
Yeah, I was just going to say,
tell them.
If you think there was a lot of work accomplished this summer for the conference, it will be a great deal more for 3,500.
But doesn't it give you a good feeling to know the way that Edward is administrating the organization and the board? That, you know, the equipment they bought, and I always get the feeling that whatever I give, we're going to get our money's worth, which is great. It's really great. So we're all in for a great year, and some planning on an individual basis has got to be done. And we just want to remind you that to start planning. And so I think it's nice to say that we're proud of what's being done at the inner retreat, and we want to get behind it and support it 100%. And all Mother is saying, and all Mother wants you to think about, is that now is the time to think about it. It's not 9 months away, it's not 10 months away, and so we have to be one body supporting our land, because all of us have a payment to make, our own particular part of the rent at this point in the mortgage, and we'll do it. Many people have asked, for example, about coming to the October class, and I think at this point and Mother would rather have you send your money and meet your $500 minimum instead of coming to the class, and stay and keep the flame. This is certainly for people in teaching centers and around the world who might be traveling here. It's a time to be frugal. It's a time to do without the little things that you think you might need. You can, thinking about Christmas, thinking about the ways that we spend money, I think all of us can sort of tighten up a little bit and go for it again in a greater way this year. We were so successful last year, and we really have a tremendous momentum of victory. When you see that film, and it's just hard to imagine. I was there, I remember it, day by day. But it's just tremendous to see it all on film and to know it actually happened. It's working. I'm so grateful.
I would like to let you know that Mother has established the goal of making the annual payment, or being able to make the annual payment, by Easter. Now, if that goal is met, she will be interested in holding seminars and various other activities within the inner retreat as soon as the weather permits.
So we're headed that way. God bless you, and thank you again, and good night.
Good night. God bless you.